you guys, it is William calling from Wee Wee Vlogs.
Freddie here too.
And we've already reviewed the results of the semi-finals, so now it's time to review the results of the grand final. Are you ready?
Let's do this.
Now, ahead of this discussion, we actually plotted the points of the jury versus the televote, and we've created a little chart that shows who the jury helped the most and who the jury hurt the most. This is because we already talked about the overall results immediately after the show, so this is just breaking it down a little. Now, Freddie, let's start at the top. No surprises here. The jury helped Switzerland the most, giving them 139 more points than the televoters did. What do you make of that disparity?
I suppose I'm not entirely shocked by it. I mean, Switzerland was amazing. It was amazing to see in person. I thought it was obviously going to be a televote winner, but it was just a battleground at the top, right? Of televote winners versus jury. So, I mean, I don't think it's a great surprise. I think we always knew it was going to do well with the juries. It had, on paper, it literally had all the elements of anything that makes a great Eurovision song. It's like the changing genres, impressive vocal, and just very, very confident on stage, as well as great staging. So I don't think I'm surprised that it did well with the juries and less well with the public. I think there was just so much for the public to choose from, and yeah, it was a complicated year.
And I think also juries, like they tend to cluster around one act. We saw this with Loreen last year. We see it with Switzerland this year. But also they have to vote for something that's not in any way dangerous, right? So for some jurors, Croatia might have been dangerous because they would say, oh, it's too out there or too over the top. Mind you, Croatia still did very well, coming third with the juries overall. Incredible. But I think with Switzerland, it had the least sort of strikes against it in a way, on top of being incredibly well performed, well, polished, and visually quite arresting.
Yeah, that, and it's also not politically dangerous, which I'm sure we'll get into a bit more later, but it's neutral Switzerland. It's a very safe ground for people to vote for.
Absolute neutrality was in on the night of the grand final.
Please the Swiss EBU, don't you, as well?
But we should say, and we should point out, that everyone thought this was going to be a runaway jury winner for quite some time.
Yeah.
Like, the bookies were tapping into that, et cetera, et cetera. All right.
I literally texted you.
You did.
The day before rehearsal started, and I was like, I just don't understand how this cannot win. It just had everything that juries loved, and it wasn't my favorite song. I did love it, but it's not my favorite song. But it just felt like there was nothing that could stop it.
Yeah, and I just want to say this right now, right here. Switzerland's team remained humble throughout this process. They never got too confident, they never got cocky, and they remained warm and open during the entire Eurovision fortnight and even before. And in the past, some delegations, when they become favorites, they lose that. But I really respect the Swiss team for, keeping their feet on the ground. They took nothing for granted. And so, yeah, mad props to them, and I can't wait to see what they do in Zurich. All right. Now, the second biggest bump from the jury went to Portugal. Portugal got 13 points from the public and 139 from the jury. So that's a bump of 126 points. Just to put that in rank ordinals, in terms of the public, Portugal came 20th. And in terms of the jury, Portugal came 7th. Freddie, what do you make of this?
I'm, again, not entirely surprised. I think, you have all these music professionals who will see something that will kind of blow them away on a kind of artistic level. And so it made sense that they got such a big vote, got such a big push from the juries. I'm also not surprised that the public didn't like it as much. I think it was a bit too arty, as I said in other words before. And
our boy doesn't like art.
It didn't. No, I like art. I just think when you're trying to appeal to the masses in a competition like Eurovision, you send something a little more mass appealing.
They backed that mass up. They had mass appeal with the juries. It's funny. This is what I like about Portugal, though. We saw it with Conan Osiris in Tel Aviv. We see it, just consistently, even with the Black Mamba, who did quite well. They do them, right?
Yeah.
You can't. I guess.
But to me, it's like they've entered a different competition. It's like they think they're in a different competition.
Like the World Expo Cultural Fair.
It's like they're a World Music Fair, and it's brilliant, but it doesn't sit with me.
You loved Maro. Maro was one of your faves.
Saudade.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a brilliant song. I still have that on my playlist. So
I'm just curious. I know Saudade and Grito are totally different vibes, but they are both world music in a sense.
Yes.
For you, why is one appealing and why is the other not?
I think I just like sad girl pop.
Yeah,
You know, and Saudade.
Never play Robin around him. You'll need tissues.
But I Carajal, I also love for different reasons.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
That was kind of camp in a fun way, in a different way. It didn't actually. Carajal
Didn't do as well as this.
Felt different.
It felt more carnival.
Yes.
Yeah. Look, I think that sometimes at Eurovision, acts that are serious can be read as pretentious. So I think some people would have read Portugal as pretentious. I think for me, I read it as artistic, partly because she had long fingernails and like she wasn't trying to be like, you know, the pompous artist. She was doing her. She loves nail art, as she told us in our interview at the Emporia Malma Lounge. So yeah, I think the personal kind of tipped it for me. Like it was never pretentious. It was always art.
I do know what you mean, and I would say that when I said the comments about being pretentious, I hadn't given it much attention. I just watched it a couple of times. You know, it wasn't something that was really on my radar.
And just a note, let's keep our vocal going this way because there is this vent. No, there's this vent, and I just want the people to hear you, Hunty. All right, so we move on. Actually, final thing, top 10 finish for Portugal with something artistic. That shows you, you know, that's so brave to come with this and then to come to the top 10. You know, hit or miss, take a risk or go down in flames. They took a risk and it worked out.
Are these the total points? Just
overall, we see that Portugal came 10th, exactly 10th.
Yeah.
Just
kind of out of nowhere. Where was it in the odds?
It was low. It wasn't even down to qualify at various points.
Wow.
And it finished overall just behind Sweden and just ahead of Greece. Okay. So, yeah, with some big hitters. Now, we haven't discussed Germany very much, Freddie, and this is one that deserves our attention because this was the act the juries helped the third most. So 99 jury points, just 18 public vote points for a difference of 81 points. Germany finished 12th overall, which is their best result in a long time, probably since Michael Schulte. And then the jury put them at 10th, while the public put them 19th. Please, you go first.
This is the one that on paper doesn't make any sense to me, right? He has a brilliant voice, and I'm sure juries gave him a lot of points for that. For me, song-wise, it felt kind of aggressive. It felt a bit like what people were doing 10 years ago, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he has a brilliant voice. The staging we'd kind of seen before, I didn't really get it, but I mean, maybe you have more insight than I do.
So I don't have much insight. I'm pleased for him actually, because in interviews, and I said this consistently, he was one of my favorite artists because he doesn't have a filter. He says how he's feeling. He's honest. He's open. There's no PR here. And I quite like how on the red carpet, he just turned up in sort of elevated street clothes, right? He wanted to do him, and so he wore a tracksuit, and it was rainbow colored, so it was slightly glammed up. But that's what I like about him is he's quite real. The song, I'm not the biggest fan of the song, but when we were in Amsterdam together, I don't know if you remember this, but when the chorus was on, we were moving.
Yeah.
Our bodies were moving, even if we were like, we shouldn't be moving because this song is dated. We've heard it before. It's predictable. It's bland. I am convinced now this did better than Rick would have done. There was a lot of talk about Rick. And I think in terms of the pretentiousness factor, which you felt for Portugal, I think mass European audiences may have felt that it was artistically wanky, the Rick song, which was very well delivered, by the way. This is no shade. But just looking at these results, how Portugal went down with the public, I think Rick would have sunk with the public as well. But Germany was a very good compromise. Because it's so banal and safe, you know, it didn't finish in the bottom 5 with the public either. It was 19th with the public. So, yeah, that's right. So, yeah, staging was not overwhelming to me. It was a lot of fire. It was just a lot of fire.
Yeah. And he didn't move very much for someone singing about being on the run.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But again, the voice is so good. I think jurors cannot blind themselves to a voice.
I think that's probably it. It was just such a strong vocal. Right?
And this is a type of song that in Germany would be a hit. It probably, do you know what I'm saying? Remember Malik Harris from Germany? He came last at Eurovision, I think, or he got 0 points if he didn't finish last. He was near the bottom. And his song went on to be a hit. I feel like German radio perhaps is a bit safer than some other.
They love a male ballad on German radio. when I think of like Max
Ah.
Foster and like, yeah.
Are you going to submit?
Should I sing a ballad for Germany?
We're ready, Mr. Tennyson. We are ready.
Can we do a ballad version of Atemlos?
Atemlos durch die Nacht. What's that show? The Schlager something show?
A Schlager move? No.
It's hosted by Florian someone.
Yes, I know.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But it was like an entire, Helene Fisher episode. I was in Newcastle on holiday. I could not stop watching.
Yeah.
She's incredible.
When's Helena Fisher coming?
Honestly, if that happened, Germany could win.
Listen, ARD.
Make
Is
it
it ADR? Who do the
NDR?
NDR.
Yeah.
Helena Fisher. I'm
Yeah.
sure they're trying. I'm sure they're trying.
Atemlos
But she's also got Russian
durch die
heritage,
Nacht.
so it might get a bit controversial.
Well, we move on to Sweden. Now, we always knew that Sweden would do better with the juries than with the people, and it was a disparity of 76 points. That's the fourth biggest disparity at the top. 125 from the jury, only 49 from the people. Freddie, overall, Sweden placed a very respectable ninth. As a host country, that's very respectable. And then with the juries, they were eighth. And with the public, they were 11th. So actually, it's not a huge gap in terms of rank ordinal. Again, Sweden knows how to do mainstream pop. No juror is ever going to be embarrassed to put their name next to Sweden, ever. It's always a safe choice in that sense. And the fact that they came, what was that? 11th with the public from starting position. I think, this shows there was an appetite for this song. A lot of people said this would do horribly, but it did not. And I'm so pleased for them.
Oh, we applaud. We're applauding.
They have a lovely father, by the way. He was working Lorene's healing pop-up shop.
You're twin.
I'm their cousin.
You're the third brother.
Are you calling me the overweight cousin? I hate that. So someone said on Twitter, y'all are mean. Please, Freddie, go ahead.
It was so slick. And those boys, they really had honed in on that dance.
Yeah.
I mean, and the staging was amazing. I mean, it didn't change much from Melfest. In fact, I think it was almost identical to Melfest. So, I don't know. I think maybe that's why people didn't pay much attention, because there was no kind of growth along the way for the odds or something. But no, it was brilliant, and those boys can really dance. I just wish the camera was a little more static when they were doing that dance, so the audience at home could have seen it properly.
I know what you mean. It was a good effect, and they blur, right? And they are. It's almost it's like electricity on the screen. And when there's so much electricity, you can't really see what's going on.
Yeah.
But I think that was part of the point.
That was the effect, right? That was the Blade Runner.
Which makes me think maybe they wanted to hide the dancing a little.
But there was no reason to hide the dancing unless they wanted to hide that they weren't singing all the vocals.
Oh, maybe. I mean, this is a TV show, yeah, and these are all of this is above board. They followed the rules. They were great. They were so good at the Emporia Lounge. They were the very first act, drew a massive crowd, and they were not done with the interview. And my sister Suzanne was talking, so you know what they said? One of them grabs the mic and goes, "She's unprofessional."
No way.
I absolutely love them. They are so good, so down to earth. And I didn't tell anyone this. After the grand final, we were filming our reaction video. It was like 3 a.m. We were shutting down, and then they were walking out to go home. They were done, and they stopped and gave us a hug and said, "Thank you so much for everything. Really nice to see y'all again. Hope to see you soon." They're down to earth, despite perhaps having the biggest following of anyone in this competition. Alongside Angelina Mango and Ali Alexander, they were so down to earth.
Yeah.
And I love that for them. They're not divas. They are human beings, to quote Ukraine. And so I'm really happy they did well, and I hope they come back and represent Norway in the near future.
Yeah, and I should mention, when I first met them at the hotel in London, before the Eurovision party, they were introducing themselves to everyone. Literally just going around shaking hands.
So nice.
It's very sweet. It's very humble.
Very good ambassadors, for Norway, and this year for
the Scandi, the
Sweden.
Nordics.
Did we deliberately color block today?
Do we? Well, I don't know.
Anyway, it worked out. I wish we had a different background, though, because I'm kind of blending in, whereas you're popping out.
Camouflage.
You're popping out, babe. All right, so the fifth biggest disparity was Luxembourg. Jurors gave this 83 points, whereas the public only gave it 20, for a difference of 63. And overall, with rank ordinals, Luxembourg finished 13th. The jury put Luxembourg 11th, and the people put Luxembourg down in 17th. I was very much with the people here. I would have put this about 17th as well. I think the jurors, may have been excited that Luxembourg was back. And I think they would have respected it's a very pop-friendly radio song. Like, this is a radio-friendly song. It's well constructed. Yeah, I think this placement feels about right, actually, overall.
I think the disparity, though, here has a lot to do with the running order placement, because it went on just before Israel, very early on in the show. You know, so it was never gonna pick up a huge amount of televote points. But I think it was a good performance. It was a strong performance. I'm still not entirely sold on the Panther.
Yeah, that was a large panther.
It was a large panther.
It was big. My partner texted me and said, "What is going on with the kitties?" I was like, "I don't know." But that's a really good point about the running order. I forgot how early this went. I think jurors are affected less by running order than the people. And indeed, coming just before Israel, there might have been, there might have been anticipation of like the drama that was unfolding.
Although I would imagine that more people are tuning in and would catch the end of it. You know? So maybe I'm talking rubbish, but
maybe. It's an interesting point, but they didn't just come back. They made the final and they did well. So I think this is a really good thing for Luxembourg and Luxembourgish Eurovision fans, because they're off to a good start.
Yeah.
Now, the sixth biggest disparity was with Italy, a difference of 60 points, 164 points from the jury, 104 from the people. Overall, Italy finished in fourth. Sorry, that is incorrect. Italy finished in seventh place. They were fourth with the jury. And the people put Italy seventh. You know what? I think if this was a radio competition, this would have been slightly higher. But in terms of visuals, I do think that, the countries that finished above Italy all had very strong visuals, right? Croatia, Israel, Ukraine, France, Switzerland, Ireland. I loved Italy, but I think Italy may have been a bit dark rewatching.
I think a bit busy.
Busy and dark, so you couldn't see what was happening. Still incredibly good. This is my husband's favorite song. Incredibly classy, but Ireland was dark, yet it popped out because it was so out there. Whereas Italy was a really quality, mainstream, fantastic song. So, there are a lot of quirky acts above it. Croatia, Switzerland, Ireland. You could argue Ukraine, given how unique the visuals were as well.
I also think and a lot of people speak Italian as a second language across Europe, but if you're singing a song in a language that people may not necessarily understand, you have to do a bit more kind of overt storytelling in your performance. And I think I still had to look up the translation of the song.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It didn't tell the story that way. Right. And then couple that with she was a great performer. She's a great performer, but I just thought it was like quite busy on stage. I like that they changed her outfit from the semi-final performance to the final, which actually cooled down a lot of the busyness that was on stage, because she had this her tights almost kind of matched the plants on stage, and
she was
it just got a bit much. So I just kind of wish she was like, when she sat on that throne, she was a bit like Lenoya, showing being bored or something, done something with it. Give us some dramaturgy.
Yeah, there you go. We know you're a drama queen. All right, and now the last one we'll discuss actually is the United Kingdom. They had a disparity of 46 points. Now, you don't have to be good at math to figure this one out. 46 points from the jury, 0. That is 0 points from the public. Overall, that means the United Kingdom finished in 18th place. The jury ranked the United Kingdom 13th, so almost to top 10. And the public obviously put the United Kingdom last. That is last place. So much to talk about. Let me kick this off by saying, and I've mentioned my love languages many times throughout this run, I personally really liked the visuals. I think they were really in your face. However, when you're thinking about mass voting, obviously there's a fine line between raw and raunchy, and I do think that Europe thought this was too raunchy. I think there are a lot of more conservative, traditional fan bases out there in different countries. Even in countries that are not so conservative, you're not going to drum up enough support when you're, very hastily flashing nipple, armpit, ab, having someone rub a stomach, and mimicking doggy-style sex. That's very in your face, and I think for a lot of people, it moved from art to porn, softcore porn, basically. However, I think it was artistic. I quite liked that visual. It's something you could see at installation. I don't know if the Hoist in London collaborated with the Tate Modern. I could see this as a performance piece. I could see this. But what I'm trying to say is, this was never going to appeal to the masses. So 0 points. I understand, even if I personally would have given this some love.
Yeah, I think I agree with you quite a lot on that. I think the staging was brilliant, and what is makes me a bit nervous is that I really want the UK to carry on with this kind of upscaled staging, because that was arguably the best staging that the UK have had ever at Eurovision. I just think it veered from, when you have to use kind of overt sexual things to sell it, it means you've kind of I don't know, I feel it maybe lacked a bit of direction, or they didn't trust it enough, that they wanted to be controversial for the other reasons. And I actually just think the bit where he kind of moves down and grazes that guy's codpiece, I think that was literally the moment that put people off and be like, nope, too much
genital engagement,
and I think they could have gone with what they did with the music video and had that house and had the dizziness, like the strength of the dancers was incredible. It was amazing. And if they just had them doing that in a house and not simulating sex,
like in tuxedos even, or in some other outfit, because
or even just shirtless. I mean, it was just like the overt sexual nature with the moldy like bathhouse,
implying sweat, bathhouse. It was too much. And I think the song, because the song is sweet, I get adding a little bit of grit to balance it out. Because then it makes it feel less safe, right? Because people said the song was too safe. So then with the staging, they went way out there. But I think that could have been better balanced. Because you know what? I'm all about...
God, you need to update your computer.
I do need to update my
notification is coming up.
In Vietnamese cooking, it's all about balancing salt, sweet, all this stuff. And this had a lot of acid. It was like adult acid hunty, but I needed a bit more sugar. And also vocally, where did the jury put this again? The jury ranked this 13th, actually. That's a very good result for the United Kingdom. I know Sam Ryder did better, but like overall, to come 13th with the juries is a very good result for the UK. So it was respected. I think vocally it was slightly off. Were there 4 dancers or 5? 4?
I don't know.
I just think maybe the backing vocalist could have taken more of the burden, because towards the end, this is a very physical performance. It's a very physical performance, and towards the end there was a bit of strain. Ollie is a fantastic studio artist, and live, I think that this performance required so much that it would have benefited from a bit more backing support.
Yeah, and I think what you were saying to me was it today? I can't remember, but essentially it was that the UK Eurovision team would have benefited from a bit more of the existing UK Eurovision team's insight, rather than him using all his own people. Because I think what they did was create a really good performance for an award show or for his own tour, but not really for Eurovision. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's institutional memory, and I think delegations, they go every year. They understand understand the score. They understand voting patterns. They understand the Eurovision audience. Now, I don't know this for a fact, but my sense is that maybe Ollie used all of his own people and perhaps could have leaned in more to the BBC's existing team. I don't know.
Slightly more collaborative.
Yeah, more collaborative. That's a great way to put it. And again, I don't know who was on the team and who wasn't, but my sense was that there were more, outside people than inside people.
But the last bit was incredibly effective.
That was nice.
With the stage doing that thing, with the video, with the camera at top, and then he performed and had the light. I thought that was brilliant. And so I don't want Ollie to feel bad.
No, ultimately, this wasn't to win Eurovision. This was to mark his start as a solo artist releasing music under his own name.
What a way to mark it with 0 public points.
But what a statement of intent, with a sweaty locker room shower scene and 4 boxers.
And you know what? That is political. What I was thinking earlier is like,
political?
actually,
The locker
going
room?
on there and being overtly sexual. Because the thing with gay men is that public like you as long as you're not in your face with your sexuality.
That's true.
Right? Do you think of all the famous gay people on TV? They are kind of de-sexed people, right?
Yeah, that's
like
true.
Graham Norton just turns up, but you never hear anything about his personal life, right?
Yeah, no.
So to do that, that's why it is divisive and offensive, because actually you don't want to hear them. Like, you have all these women being overtly sexual. That's fine.
True, actually. Georgia's Nitsabudzaladze at one point was down on all 4s in her performance, and people barely blinked. People barely blinked, so that is a very interesting point. Let me just tell you this. Don't give this one a mic because if he'll NC-17.
It'll be
suddenly.
George Michael bathroom.
Yeah. We move on. Let's actually go to the exact other extreme, Freddie. Let's look at who the jury hurt the most. And the country with the biggest disparity, it was Israel. They had 52 jury points, whereas they had 323 public votes. So that's a difference of 271. In terms of rank ordinal, overall Israel was 5th. In terms of the jury vote, they were 12th. And in terms of the public vote, they were 2nd. I'll just kick this off by saying, I think that when countries are involved in political controversies in the real world, jurors get a little nervous about voting for them as a starting point. And this is because, although the name is not revealed, you do know the 5 people on the jury, and then people try to deduce who it is. You know, if you're juror A and then juror B says, I gave X points, they can then people can narrow down who voted for who. And and this predates the war. We live in a society now where social media, people are always on the hunt, attacking jurors. Like, I've been on the end of this myself. People love to attack jurors when they don't agree with them. And so there's this climate of fear. And so I think it pushes jurors into a position where they're often very conservative with their voting and they don't want to take risks with their voting. And I think with Israel, you do see this. I think a lot of jurors would have been fearful of putting their name next to them.
Yeah. You wouldn't want to put something so kind of hotly contested on either end of it, because you do. If I was a juror, I would probably end up putting something so controversial in the middle just so no one could ever claim anything. I'm just backing up your point.
No, it's absolutely true. And also, some jurors may have been expressing their politics through their vote. It's possible. We don't know. And then I guess on the flip side, we've been framing this analysis in terms of who the jury helped or hurt. But I think this conversation is much more about who the televote helped. And in this case, they helped Israel.
I think you're absolutely right. Where did Israel come in just the jury ranking then exactly?
So in the jury ranking, they were 12th, just ahead of the United Kingdom and quite behind Luxembourg.
Behind Luxembourg? That surprises me.
That is interesting. I found Israel's performance more tasteful than Luxembourg's.
It's more mature in a way.
But Luxembourg's song is more of a radio hit.
Yes.
Because, a poppy girl bop, I think more radios can get behind that.
Yeah.
All right, but this is a massive disparity. Any other thoughts before we move on?
No.
Okay, so the second biggest disparity, and this really surprises me actually, is Ukraine. The jury gave 161 fewer points than the public. So the jury gave 146, whereas the public gave 307. And wow. The jury ranked Ukraine 5th, very respectable, and the public ranked Ukraine 3rd, which is even better. I think the public... No, I was going to say something about rap, but Nemo won the jury, and they rapped as well. Look, Ukraine did incredible.
Do you think it was possible that Ukraine could have done better had they not been in
second?
Spot?
Absolutely. I mean, second spot...
Because that's a lot of points.
That's a lot of points from second. They gave the death spot life. It is true that you could vote from the very beginning of the grand final this year, but I still think the death spot holds because, the power of the death spot is just so immense. And like, I'm waffling here. It's hard to piece together. But I always thought that the jurors would rank this higher than the people. I don't think this is a sympathy vote, by the way, for the war, because last year Tvorchi, they didn't do particularly well, did they? They came top 10, but by Ukraine standards, that's not very good to come top 10. Ukraine is used to coming near the top.
Tvorchi was nothing compared to this.
This
was an incredible performance. I mean, when I listen to it now, I'm still reeling from them putting it in second position, but didn't deserve the death spot. It's such an epic performance, such an epic song. I mean, the symbolism, not subtle. We had rockets, we had war, but it was amazing. It was so beautiful.
Do you think they were trying to cluster Ukraine and Israel, the two countries at war, early on, so that the rest of the show could move on in a sense? Because it's very strange.
We're nervous about both these countries having the power to win when they're both in wars.
Yeah, producers are practical. They have to be
Yeah.
practical, so perhaps that's part of it. I think Ukraine did have a giant rock, that giant prop, but it seemed quite easy to wheel on and off because they didn't put it by a commercial break. So yeah, it's a mystery, but the public, it was so interesting when that vote came through in the press room, there was such a roar. People were so happy for Ukraine.
Yeah, because they really deserved it, and I think a lot of people were kind of miffed with them being put in the death spot.
Yeah, and I'll say this till the cows come home. Ukraine is, of course, the only country that has always qualified from the semifinals. I guess we can count Luxembourg as well, since they've only come back now and they've had one semifinal. But Ukraine, they're masters of the stage, absolute master of the stage. I wore their socks this morning when we were at the gym. Thank you for photographing those. Captured my best angle.
Maria and Teresa were with us on the treadmills.
We were pumped. We were going, Maria. No, it was just incredible, and yeah, I can't wait to see what they do next year.
Yeah, me too.
Ukraine's always the one to look out for. But look, the third biggest disparity was Croatia. The juries awarded it 210 points, whereas the public gave 337 for a difference of 127 points. Even so, Croatia came first with the public and they came third with the juries. So even if there's a huge points difference in terms of rank ordinals, there's not that big of a difference. But this is why I think the power of the jury should be lessened, because the jury ranks Croatia third, and yet the difference is still 127 points, because jury points tend to cluster around the favorite,
right,
and then they disperse quite quickly. So do you see what I'm getting at here? So if you have a 60, basically, let me break it down.
But if there's a landslide for the televote,
yeah, no, I take your point there.
It would happen in the opposite way.
To an extent, I just think that in a competition that's watched by hundreds of millions of people, we haven't had the televote winner win since 2017? Is that correct?
And that's problematic, I think.
That's really Did Neto win the televote actually?
Let me look it up.
So basically, let me rephrase that. The last act to win both the jury and the televote was way back in 2017. This year, Nemo, Switzerland was fifth. Now, Nemo. They are the rightful winner. They are the rightful winner. They won by the rules. But I'm just saying, I would love it if we could have an act again win that won the televote. And as Stig Carlson has said, if the public's winner keeps losing, we have a problem. And so a 60-40 split, I personally think would be nice.
What is the motivation for
50-50.
The EBU to keep it at 50-50?
I think they just see, I think their heart is in the right place. They see the professionals as lessening block voting, lessening political voting, even though, as we've discussed, that's not always the case. They see it as, the professional standard, so not everything is silly, so it helps the credibility of the contest. The problem is you only have 5 people. You need to have 20. So if you're going to keep it 50-50, give me 20 jurors per country. Don't give me 5, because 5 does not represent the breadth of any country's music industry. For the UK, for instance, how could 5 people represent the entire breadth of music in this country?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
Doesn't.
Listen, EBU, just try it out.
Yeah.
Next year, from 1 year.
Yeah.
Try out in Switzerland, home turf. You can do it. Experiment.
Yeah, 60-40. Let's do this. Yeah. Should this be a ringtone? Yeah. Yeah. But well done, Baby Lasagna. We had all worried that he wouldn't come near the top with the juries, but he did better than Karya did with the juries. He came third.
Wow, and I think juries would have been aware of that, kind of the disparity between Loreen and Karya last year, and that kind of would factor into voting again this year. I think. I don't know.
Really incredible. Now, the country hurt fourth most by the juries was Greece. They got 41 jury points compared to 85 from the public for a difference of 44. Overall, Greece placed 11th, but they came 14th with the jury, and they came 8th with the people. This was always going to be, more people bait than jury bait. I think they took a risk. Marina Sati, she took a risk by staging it this way, having the TikTok opening with the hearts, and it clearly went down a treat with the people, but jurors thought it was messy. Maybe they thought elements of it were juvenile or kitsch.
I have a feeling that when they were doing rehearsals, they before they got to Malmo, that they were like, this staging isn't working, and they decided to change it from doing that TikTok video the whole way through to just the beginning. because there was something not quite. It was something quite unfinished. I thought about the stage performance. I absolutely love the song. I'm obsessed with Marina Sirtis. I think she's incredible.
Oh, you are.
Do you remember when we met
If you bring
her?
up Feta one more time, honestly.
Do you remember when we met her and they were gushing about how young you looked, and then they looked at me. They asked my age. I said it, and they were like,
Oh God! I'm so sorry. You look
That
amazing.
was so
sweetie.
funny.
You look amazing.
No, she's incredible and an amazing artist, and
Yeah.
quite frankly, I would love to see her back. I'd like to go to her tour, basically.
Oh, well, we're going. We're
Yeah.
absolutely going. When she
Yeah,
comes to
yeah,
London,
yeah.
we are there. And then the country, now it's less dramatic. The country, hurt the fifth most by the jury was Estonia. They got 4. That's 4 jury points, which was actually last place. And they got 33 televote points. The 33 televote points put them in 13th place. Gosh, all the televotes went towards the top. Everyone has a really low
did.
score.
It's so stacked at the top, isn't it? I think with Estonia, it's like, look, unless they were all 6 of them, how many on stage? 6?
6.
Unless every single one of them was doing a different harmony, vocal harmony, and it was really beautiful. With that many people, it's never gonna, it was just so chaotic. It was never gonna win a jury, was it?
They finished in 20th.
But kudos to
overall.
them for doing it, for going ahead with that, not setting something that's just jury baked.
Yeah, absolutely. But look, why don't we just talk more generally now about things that surprised us? Let's look at the jury vote in particular. I was really pleasantly surprised to see that Armenia came 9th with the jury.
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect that because there wasn't a lot going on stage.
No.
There really wasn't. It was a woman drunk at the wedding saying la 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 and kind of looking at the camera occasionally. But I think this would have appealed to a lot of people, like a lot of nations love folk music, right?
Yeah.
And I think in a lot of cultures, it's still very much played on the radio, very much a part of everyday life. And this was really one of the few acts that actually showcased folk music in, a lively, powerful way.
No, absolutely. And there's such musicality to it, and they have all those live instruments on stage. I can completely see why juries would support that.
And Jacko's persona, her charisma.
Oh, yeah.
More honestly, watch our interview from the Emporia Lounge, Wee Blogs Emporia Rooftop Lounge. She just has so much personality, and the energy. It wasn't actually what was going on around her; it was her.
Yeah.
She was the energy.
Yeah,
She was her best prop.
Presence.
She didn't need an LED; she just needed herself.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, when they had all those motifs on the stage, it reminded me of the restaurant Comptoir Libnais. You know what I'm saying? The busy. I was hungry for a falafel wrap, girl. I wanted to eat. But what else surprised you with the jury?
Let's see.
Norway. Can we talk about Norway? Coming third last with the jury, coming last overall, and coming next to last with the public. Wow.
Where did they go in the running order?
They were.
They're like 15th or something. Hold on, should I get it?
Yeah, you pull that up. But look, copy and paste our comments from the semifinal. Clearly, this was too niche for Europe. This was just too niche for Europe. But I thought jurors would have respected her
14th.
vocals. Oh, well done. I thought jurors would have respected her vocals.
Yeah, she had a strong vocal. Like we're saying, it's all stacked to the top with the jury points.
Yeah.
And things like this, things that may be considered kind of middle of the road in terms of the point ranking in a jury thing, just get forgotten.
Yeah, and also, I love that Latvia, we always said this, Latvia got through, in a surprise to many, with televote only, but the jurors did give them a little boost. They finished 15th of 25, beating a lot of countries who people thought would have done better than them. For instance, they beat Cyprus, Lithuania, Serbia, Spain, Austria, Georgia, Slovenia, Norway, Finland, and Estonia. That's with the juries. And then, jurors respected the voice. They respected the song. Your dog is so cute. Your dog is in a pushchair.
That's
that
my
your
dog in a pushchair.
Who's pushing you?
I don't know.
Oh, that's
Sorry.
adorable. I love that. Now, Freddie, I want to talk about France and Slimane because I think both of us think this could have won in slightly different circumstances. France came 4th in the public vote, beating Switzerland, and they also came 2nd in the jury vote, behind Switzerland, but ahead of Croatia, Italy, Ukraine, and others. What do you make of this result?
Well, I mean, it's a good 100 and...
The overall result.
The difference between the jury vote, between France and...
9 points.
No, but in the jury, look, the jury vote, it's 100 and... What's that? 140... 7 points
Yeah.
behind Switzerland. So I mean, I do wonder whether there was a chance that he could have actually just won the whole thing, but he would have had to get a lot more jury points. You know, because I was thinking his jury performance was nowhere near the power that it was in his grand final performance.
Yeah,
right?
he missed the big a cappella moment.
Right, and I don't think that can be understated. It was huge.
It was huge, but if you were a juror, I don't think you would write him off because of the one croak.
Well, I know. I don't know if the 147 points behind Switzerland is. I mean, it's enough to take that. But I just think that was the big moment in the song. He also croaked from the beginning.
Oh, did he? I missed
the
that
vocal
bit.
wasn't on point.
Oh,
from the
interesting.
Top. It wasn't as bad as it was for that last bit. But I mean, that is the bit that like I almost stood up watching it on telly when he did in the final. Like it was just amazing.
Oh wow.
That final vocal, you know.
It's funny, he consistently got the biggest applause at rehearsals and in the dress rehearsals.
Because it was epic.
It was
so epic. It was so big.
And it looked so different and felt so different because it was a ballad. It was all white. People had their white lights. It felt, I'm not calling acts desperate that have bells and whistles, but it felt pure. It felt pure. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it didn't need extra stuff.
Okay, but look, if we're saying it's 147 points behind Switzerland in the jury vote, if it took some of those points, say, from Switzerland, well, I mean, I imagine it would have taken points from elsewhere too, but it could have seriously done some damage when you got the final vote together.
Yeah, but babe, finishing, 4th overall, that's doing damage. That is doing some Jean-Claude
I'm just saying
damage.
we could see a different running. We could see Croatia could have crept up to first place because we've got some points for Switzerland.
Oh, I see. Because I take your point because Switzerland only beat Croatia by 40 points, 45 points, 44 points. It's really close. So you think if France had a better jury show, perhaps they would have taken 44 points.
It could have come third,
away from Switzerland.
and
wow,
taking points away from Switzerland.
Yeah, no, that's a definite possibility.
And these are the things you can never predict, but it completely changes the game. And actually, you don't know what it would have been on the night, but it could.
That's why it's so exciting. That's why we love this game. Look, let's just quickly look at the most voted comments on the Wee Blogs website. Produk says, "Baby lasagna, girl." Produk says, "Baby lasagna can join Chanel, Eleni, and Karia in the Eurovision Hall of Fame. You don't have to win Eurovision to be a Eurovision icon. Congratulations, Marco. I'm sure Croatia is very proud."
Yeah, let's have our second position All Stars Eurovision.
Honestly, second position absolutely kills.
Imagine the All Stars.
Oh my gosh, RuPaul would have to host that one. Tarsi says, "So happy for Nemo, but also Ireland came 6th in the jury, 6th in the televote, 6th overall. The Witch is 666, as much a winner as Switzerland tonight."
I mean, yeah.
I mean that was
because they got 666, it makes them a winner.
I think it's more that they managed to do well in both halves.
Yeah.
No one expected Ireland to do that well with the jury.
No, and I'm so happy for them. It did deserve it. I think the jury would have seen the ballet, the vocals.
The ballet was actually incredible. The final move where they lift the leg, it's so effective. It's so simple.
Yeah. And a lot of those jury members are also performers, and they would have known this kind of skill and core strength that goes into carry a vocal and do those dance moves at the same time. Read Ollie Alexander.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so impressive, and I think that's probably what pushed it. And plus, I mean, the production on it was incredible.
Bambi was a triple threat. Vocals, dance, performance. Because we often talked about Colleen being a triple threat, but I think that applies as well to Bambi Thug.
Yeah, and also that performance came out of nowhere because the national final performance gave us 10% of what we got from them.
Ooh, Alfie23 says, "Oh, also WTF? What? Oh, WTF was up with Lorene's performance, 0 points." I gotta say that song didn't make a massive impact on me.
No.
I do love Lorene till Kingdom Come, but I think the performance was also weird. It was like an insect stuck on its back in a chair.
I know.
Or like a secretary who had too many drinks and couldn't get out of her chair.
It worked for the first minute, and then it just didn't go anywhere. It was just giving kind of statements.
Yeah.
Level of like, it made no sense. And also, she missed the golden opportunity to perform Tattoo again in the box with the stage that was based on her box. You know?
Yeah, that would have been cool.
She'd open the whole show, and then she could have done her Forever Beetle on its back thing in the middle, halftime show. Right?
And had 6 Lorenes on stage under each cube.
Well, I do like she takes herself very seriously, and that's kind of fun.
That's why I love her.
Like
that's why I love her. I went to her healing store, her pop-up shop, and I'm gonna do an Instagram post. But I felt seen in a way I've not felt seen.
Because of her healer.
The healer was incredible.
Yeah.
Her medium. Honestly, she's magical. She's magical. Well, that's a different video. Oh, and this is a muck duck. Once again, the jury's stacking most of their 12 points into one song. It means the televote was pointless. And
That's kind of what you were saying.
yeah, this is to Stig Carlson's point as well. Like, if the people don't feel heard, will they keep voting?
No, that's why they keep coming up with new ways to get people to vote.
Yeah.
The rest of the world vote. Let's vote with the vote.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. In any case, that's what we think. What do you think? Do you agree with the jury in their rankings, or were you more of a public televote supporter? Let us know here on Wee Wee Vlogs.
You can hit the subscribe button down there somewhere. You can follow us on all the social media platforms. What else do they have to do, William?
It only took 12 videos, but you've gotten it. You have. I am so proud of you.
I hate saying
Look,
that bit.
we are going to have a lazy summer, but we will be doing Eurovision videos and working on our podcast, so stay tuned. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have things to do. And we'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.